To the Governance Committee meeting of City University Construction Fund. I'm going to ask everyone to silence their phones. I'm going to give the cue to IT to begin the live stream on the CUCF webpage. And I call this meeting to order, and I note the presence of a quorum. Action items. Note, the following items require action by the committee. Approval of the minutes of the June 27, 2024 meeting of the Governance Committee of the City University Construction Fund, number 2447. Are there any amendments to the minutes? Any discussion? Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I do so move. I assume there are no corrections.
That's correct. I second. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. Aye. Okay. Senator, I think you're...
Aye.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Carries unanimously. I will now move... I will now move the second resolution. Resolution of the City University Construction Fund approving the annual report on procurement contracts and the amended and restated guidelines for procurement contracts, number 2448. I now call on Executive Director Mohammed Atalia to give an explanation of the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The New York Public Authorities Law, Section 2879, requires that every public benefit corporation adopt by resolution comprehensive guidelines which detail the corporation's operative policy and instructions regarding the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts, and requires that these guidelines be reviewed and approved annually. Section 2879 also requires the preparation and approval of an annual procurement report. The 2024 annual report on procurement contracts reflects the procurement activity of CUCF during the prior fiscal year, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. The guidelines, which have been in effect since September 1991, were last amended by the trustees on June 29, 2023, and reviewed and approved on June 27, 2024, with no further amendments. The changes for 2025 include amending Section H of the guidelines to add an ethical considerations heading addressing procurement contracts involving former CUCF employees. The amendment introduces a conflicts of interest paragraph as well as an unfair advantage prohibition. These changes reinforce CUCF's commitment to upholding the highest ethical standards in its procurement process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call for a motion on this item, please.
I will move, however, I have some questions.
Sure.
I will,
Please, Senator, go ahead.
the amendments deal with, and changes deal with ethical considerations. Is there any reason why this is being introduced now? Is there a problem, or are you trying to prevent future problems?
Hi, Senator. Thank you for the question. These measures have actually been in practice, but when we went through the guidelines, we found that they weren't actually written out. So these are now being codified here.
That's fine. We do that all the time with legislation.
Thank you.
We take rules and regs, codify them.
Okay.
A couple of other questions that occurred to me. You answered the question. That's the only difference between this year and last year.
Correct.
Okay. There are certain reports in there in terms of the amounts of money, etc., Does anybody audit this report?
We do have an audit division, an audit team that does audit. I can double check and make sure that these particular numbers were being audited.
I want to just be sure that there's an independent, and I raised this issue previous CUCF general meetings on independent audits, whether it be an outside accounting firm using the generally accepted accounting principles, or either, well, I guess it would be the state controller or any independent auditing authority. That's really my question.
Right, so we do have an independent auditor that we've actually engaged. It's Mitchell and Titus.
Yes.
To do the same one as last year for the financial audit.
Who does the actual procurement? Is this CUCF or DASNY or some other group?
It's Senator. It's based on the delivery. If the project is CUNY managed or CUCF managed, CUCF procurement division will do the procurement. However, if the project is managed by DASNY, DASNY procurement division will do the procurement. And in both cases, when the project is above the threshold, the project before award will need to go to the office of the state controller to review and bless it before an award is made.
Thank you. Yeah, that to me is important. Is there anything in our guidelines that require a project labor agreement for the when the regular construction fund board meets and approves contracts? I'm just curious about that.
As you know, Senator, that CUCF CUCF signed a project labor agreement and an umbrella project labor agreement that was last year.
Yeah,
last year. And since that time, we our projects, again, when it's above the threshold, it would be tendered as with a project labor agreement. And DASNY projects.
So they're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, DASNY projects have had a project labor agreement for much longer than CUNY, but CUNY had this BLA so that we don't rely on DASNY for their BLA.
Thank you. No, I want to be sure that they are using local union workers. I think that's it, the only questions I had. And when we, at the next meeting, approve or vote upon various, approving the minute of what we transpired today, I hope my comments will be reflected by inference, so I don't have to repeat my questions. Thank you.
Yes, they will be.
Okay.
Anything else, Senator, on this?
Nope, sorry, no.
No worries. Okay, before I call for a vote, I'm gonna second the motion, just so we have that. And I'm now calling for a vote. Are there anyone opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. I will now move the third resolution. Resolution of the City University Construction Fund approving the amended and restated guidelines for the disposition of real and personal property, number 2449. I now call on Executive Director Mohammed Atalia to give an explanation of the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. New York Public Authorities Law, Section 2896, requires that every public benefit corporation adopt by resolution comprehensive guidelines which shall detail the public authority's operative policy and instructions regarding the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of contracts for the disposal of property, and designate a contracting officer who shall be responsible for the public authority's compliance with and enforcement of such guidelines. These guidelines comply with the requirements of the New York Public Authorities Law, Section 2895, 2896, and 2897, regarding the disposition of real and personal property, and will govern the disposition by CUCF of real and personal property. These guidelines were first adopted on August 21st, 2021, and requires no further amendments at this time. So this, what we have here is similar to last year with no changes.
Okay. Okay, before we have a discussion, I'm gonna call for a motion. Senator?
Do so move.
I second. The floor is yours, Senator. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, just real quick. I don't recall any real property or personal property being discussed in the last couple of years. Do you contemplate, is that correct? And I think the last one was the sale of a couple of housing units that were owned by the construction fund or DASNY. But do you anticipate that to change? Is there any personal or real property that may be sold?
There are some, we've listed some properties, but we are working with our colleagues in the city to look at and resolve some reverter issues. But in preparation for that, we listed publicly a couple of properties, and we are waiting for the resolutions of some aspects with the city.
Yeah, Senator, just so you're aware, some of the real estate that CUNY owns has a reverter clause in the deeds. So as the way it stands now, on some of the properties, the proceeds would go to the city of New York, not to CUNY. And so that's a real issue. And to my knowledge, that has a ways to go to be resolved, correct? Or,
Correct. Yeah.
They're in discussions, but that has to be resolved before any sale of anything's contemplated.
Those were written into the purchase agreements when they were originally purchased, is that it?
I'm not sure, Senator. I've asked that question. My understanding is it had something to do during the fiscal crisis, right? Didn't the state?
They're in the deed.
They're in the
Right, yeah.
deeds.
They're in the deeds.
They're in the deeds. So yes, it was at the time they were purchased or acquired.
Interesting. Because I know of a property in Queens County owned by, I don't know who owns it, obviously, but it's a residence for the college president. And it has been in disrepair. And instead, the college president gets a housing stipend, I believe.
Okay. We have sold, you're correct, we did sell some of the residences in the last.
I remember one on Staten Island, and I
Right.
remember one in Brooklyn.
That's right, because they were in bad shape.
But what about the one in Douglaston for the Queens College president?
It's listed.
Yeah, it's listed right now.
It's listed, I understand it's in total disrepair.
It is.
It is not in a good condition, yes, but it's you know what we reported earlier in this meeting apply to this property, that it's listed.
As is.
Would it apply to that house in Douglas Manor?
Is it in Douglas Manor? Yes, that's correct. So it's listed, and
So
it has a sorry.
The
Go.
city,
Does that have a reverter in the deed?
Yes.
Yes, that's
It
correct.
does,
It does have a reverter.
it
Yes.
does, yes.
I'd like to be kept informed. It happens to be in my Senate district.
Okay.
Absolutely, Senator. Yes, we'll do that.
I passed it there are issues with that. It's a beautiful location, but somehow it just was never maintained properly. And the president of Queens College used to live there, but that has not been the case for many years.
Is it?
Okay, I just want to be kept informed. That's really it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I move approval of item 3.
Okay, I second. I'm gonna call for a vote. Any opposed or?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay, if there is no more business before the committee, this meeting is now adjourned.